Hey guys, this is Amber Rain Davis from NotableInk.com, and I lost my creative mojo. It was a little bit of a panic situation. I did find myself and get my creative mojo back, so I wanted to share a little bit about what I experienced because I'm sure that other people have experienced the same situation. And so I thought I would make a video kind of showing what happened. So everything started off well, and I was creating this alcohol ink panel for a project that I was working on. So I had something really specific in mind. Really what I wanted to do was create some small areas of alcohol ink on a panel, and I wanted to stamp on those areas. And the panels were turning out great. What wasn't turning out great was the stamping on it. And I really wanted to figure out how to get it done. I had stamped on alcohol ink before and had good success with it, no issues, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't working out with this project and my brain just wasn't letting it go. So what you see me doing here is I have a piece of glossy photo paper. It's a Kirkland paper, and I'm adding the alcohol ink to the backside. So I'm laying down some alcohol blending solution, I'm adding some Ranger alcohol inks to it, and I'm just pushing that ink around with an air puffer. Here I've laid down some more blending solution and a bit of the citrus green. I'll have all the colors that I used in my blog post, so you can check that out if you're interested in the specific colors. I'm pretty sure the other two colors were Flamingo and Eggplant. And I am just pushing this ink around. And again, I was having a lot of fun creating these panels. For this one, the branch wasn't really working out for me. I wanted to have like a green branch. Like these were flowers coming off of a green branch for the stamp set that I was going to use. And the branch wasn't really working out, so I grabbed a paintbrush. I kind of fiddled around with this a little bit. I get it to where I somewhat want it to be, but when I stamped on this, it didn't work out. I mean, that ink was way too dark. I actually went through a few different panels. This kind of took place over a couple days, and then finally, I aborted the project. Like, nothing I did was working. So I said, you know what? I have to step away from this and do something different. So you'll notice in the next frame, I have a completely different alcohol ink panel. This is much lighter ink. And you can kind of just see shrapnel all around, right? Because that's from all of my unsuccessful attempts at a card design that I was trying so hard to make, and it just wasn't working out. So in order to switch gears, because nothing was working, I started to doodle. I grabbed one of these. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to stamp what I wanted to stamp on these panels. So I grabbed one of them and I just started doodling. So before I started making cards, I was really into Zentangle, and I still am now, but I became a certified Zentangle instructor. Now this one I'm doing right here is not Zentangle. This is doodling. There is a difference between the two. So with Zentangle, you are drawing repeating patterns. What's important about that is that your mind kind of gets lost in what you're doing because you don't have to think about the next step. You're not trying to create a specific object like a flower. Now, some of the patterns may look flower-like, but you're literally just repeating 3 to 4 steps of a pattern. So once you learn the pattern, you don't have to think about what you're doing. So it becomes very meditative and relaxing. If you're trying to draw a specific object, a specific flower, a character, or something like that, you really have to think about what your next pen stroke is. So although it can be relaxing, it's a little less meditative. So this I would consider doodling because I'm not repeating a pattern. Nonetheless, this was super relaxing, and it completely took my mind away from what I was trying to do before this that wasn't working out. So this for me was working. Now, I wasn't ever able to go back and successfully do the other project that I had in mind, but at the very least, I was able to hone in on this, kind of relax, refocus, And then I was able to get that mojo back and be able to kind of go in a different direction for that other stamp set that I was working with. So what I'm going to do is I get a lot of requests from people to have more Zentangle videos. And like I said, this isn't Zentangle, but it's along the same lines. So I'm going to go ahead and pop on some music so that you can watch the drawing, and then I'll meet you back and we can put the card together. So right about here with this branch is where I stopped liking this doodle that I was doing, but I just kept at it because it was still relaxing, and I decided, I'll just go ahead. And I actually didn't even make this into a card. I set it aside for a few days and then came back to it, and I was like, I'll just cut off that branch and we'll add a strip of green to kind of mimic, okay, there should be a stem down there. And we'll put it on a black panel and it'll be a nice card. So I hadn't even intended to film the doodling that I was doing until I got completely through that first bloom. And then I was like, you know what? This has probably happened to someone else. I will go ahead and share this. So that's when I turned on the filming, and that's why I don't have the first bloom in this. So, I'm sure this has happened to other people, and it hasn't happened to me too often. Like, this is maybe the second time where I really was kind of like at a loss, where it seemed like everything that I was doing, I just didn't like it. And you know what? Probably if I went back to it a couple days later and hadn't thrown it in the trash, I might have liked it. I don't know. I tossed everything because I just really didn't like it and it wasn't working out. But I thought I would share kind of my experience of going through that period where things weren't working out, and what I did to combat that and how to get myself back on track. So after this card, like I said, I was able to refocus, recenter, bring myself back together, and move in a different direction. Those cards that I was working on haven't been released yet, and they are very different from what I typically do, so it'll be interesting to see what you guys think of them once they are released. I appreciate you guys stopping by today, and I hope that this inspires you to find that something that will spark your creativity again if you lose your mojo. Maybe there is a different type of craft that you used to do a long time ago that you can come back to, whether that's sewing or embroidery or paper piecing, or maybe it's not something art related at all, but going in a different direction and doing something completely different really helped to re-spark my creativity. So thanks again for stopping by, and until next time, breathe, ink, inspire.